What's a tip that everyone should know which might one day save their life? Unless there is a danger in doing so, stay in your car if you're stranded in the desert. Snow. Edit. Okay. Yes. If you're in the desert you may need to get under your car because of the heat. But don't get away from your car. Your car is easier to find than you. Edit 2. And yes, if you know where you are and know how to get safely to a safe place, do it, but don't go to search for help without I, monsieur. Edit 3. Don't walk on the roadside. You're gonna get hit. Don't pour water on a grease fire. One of the many things I watched on TV as a kid were Elvis Presley movies. In one of his movies he has a date with a girl in her apartment. She cooks a roast in the oven for their dinner. Elvis arrives and the food is burning. Flames are shooting out of the oven. She makes a move to throw water on the fire, but Elvis stops her and grabs a container of salt and throws handfuls of salt onto the fire, which promptly puts it out. One day I'm sitting in the living room when I hear my mother yell from the kitchen. I race there and flames are leaping out of the broiler. Huge grease fire, almost as high as the stove itself. Mother makes a move to throw water on it, but remembering how Elvis did it, I stop her. Then I grab a container of salt and throw handfuls of salt onto the fire, which immediately extinguishes the flames within seconds. Mother looks at me with a surprised expression on her face and she asks me, "How did you know to do that?" Quote, "Thanks, Elvis. Thank you very much. I hope you know this comment is now saved in my phone forever for practical entertainment value. Know how to swim, monsieur. You don't need to be Michael Phelps, but it's great to be able to swim decently and tread water. Also, if you're ever kidnapped, try to leave personal items along the way. Like drop a ring or earring in the car or something. It can be helpful to find you and as evidence in trial." Edit. First gold. Thank you. At all costs, don't let an attacker drag you into a vehicle. You never want to go to a second location. Yup, you can be damn sure if I'm going to die, I'm dying right where I am, monsieur. My dad always told me, if someone threatens to kill you to get you into a car, call their bluff because you rather die right there than be taken wherever they're planning. Edit. Wow, this blew up. Thank you so much for the gold. I'm excited to show my dad even though he doesn't use Reddit. I don't think this actually happened to my parents' coworker, friend at the hospital they worked at. He got followed to an ATM and got out of his car to get some cash out. Wasn't a drive-through, and had a gun held to his back and was told to get out cash. He did, but when the guy told him that he needed to get in his car and drive to another ATM, the guy flat out said no. Shoot me right here if that's your plan, but I'm not getting in the car with you. Thankfully, the guy with the gun ran off. Also, if you do get put into a car, I read to you run a spit pull hair out to get your DNA in the car. Edit. Just read that urine isn't an ideal way to get DNA, but at least it will be suspicious. Edit 2. Wow, thanks for platinum. Hell yes. About 30 years ago, the then CEO of my Fortune 500 company was accosted by an ex-employee in the parking lot. Gun pointed and ordered, "Get in the car." "Fuck you. Shoot me here, you coward." Ex-employee drove off, was arrested later that day. Greater than fuck you. Shoot me here, you coward. Absolute legend. If you're lost in the woods, don't leave your location. People searching for you will start at your last known location, heading, and you'll just make their job harder by expanding the search area. If you must leave, follow water. Early cities, towns were usually founded near a source of water. If you follow a stream, you're more likely to run into civilization. Usually downstream, but really depends where you are. Edit. Jeebus people. I'm not saying this is a magical spell that protects you from everything, or a universal law that works 100% of the time. Apparently I need to clarify not to follow the water off a cliff, into a cave, into a tiger pit, into a van marked free candy, or into a free Scientology audit. Added bonus of following the water is that the searchers might put 2 and 2 together and follow it after you, and you have water. Maybe, if you're stabbed or impaled and the offending object is still in your body, do not pull it out. Doing so can make you bleed out. I have seen a lot of people who believe this is a myth and natural instincts is to pull out something that puncturing you. But this is extremely important. Leave it in until a medical professional can remove it. If the object goes in the body and smoothly, it will more than likely create a wound internally that is almost identical in size to the object. So it essentially acts as a plug. If it is pulled out, any blood vessels that are cut will no longer have the knife's edges pressing against them and they will begin to bleed. If you pull it out and don't notice a lot of blood, the bleeding could be internal so you wouldn't even realize that you are bleeding. You could also do some serious damage pulling out the object. My wife is a trauma surgeon and has had people cut organs pulling out knives or other sharp objects. When my son had a piece of fence go through his foot at a friend's house, he called me and I told him to stay still until the paramedics got to the scene. He knew not to pull it out. Once they got there, they were able to stabilize it until he got to the hospital so it could be removed, even if the object is too big to be moved with you. The EMTs or whoever arrives on the scene can cut it down in size so it can be moved. Never remove it. Vomiting can make a potential rapist leave you alone. If nothing else works, put your finger down your throat. Kids. My brother went to New Orleans with his buddy and their girlfriends. While walking around, they get stopped by the huge black guy in a crisp white suit and he says this: "I'm gonna give y'all kids some rules to follow while you're here. 1. Never leave your drinks unattended. Everyone will try to push it in there, even the bartenders. 2. You boys don't ever let your girls walk alone on these streets. Even with a weapon, they might get taken. 3. If you're walking down a neighborhood and you don't see any children wandering around, leave immediately. If it's not safe enough for the kids, it ain't safe for you. 4. If y'all wanna buy some crack, I got some. Edit. Thanks for the gold, guys. Chaotic good. If you ever feel intense pressure in your chest that radiates up into your jaw, you are probably having a heart attack. Source. Had heart attack last month. I get this feeling every time I eat 188 sushis at the all-you-can-eat sushi buffet. You joke, but heartburn is seriously hard to distinguish from a heart attack. I almost went to the ER one day before my wife explained that it was just heartburn. Edit. Holy cow. Reddit is really passionate about heartburn. If you've been stabbed, leave the sharp object in the wound until it can be treated by a professional. Sometimes the knife, stick, whatever is the only thing sealing the wound so you don't bleed out. On a similar note, if you for some reason get stabbed in the eye with a stick, cover both eyes. Moving your injured eye can cause more damage, and it's impossible to move your eyes independently, and if they aren't covered you'll instinctively look around with the uninjured one. Source. Boy Scout first aid training. If you're in the passenger seat of a car, never put your feet on the dashboard. In the event that you're in a car accident, knee bones into your skull won't end well. Edit to add. Yes, please don't do this in the driver's seat either, lol. And if it doesn't damage your face, it will damage your hips. If you believe someone is in your home, whatever you do, don't turn on the lights. As much as you'd feel more comforted if the lights were on. You know your house better than anyone. You would have an easy time moving around your house while the intruder would be a lot slower. And don't use a damn flashlight either. Just gives away your location. Put a flashlight on a Roomba to deceive the intruders. Flashlight? Put a goddamn gun on the Roomba and send it out for action. The Doomba. Do not jump in the water to save a drowning person unless absolutely necessary, i.e. a child, etc. Drowning people tend to clasp on their rescuers and drag them under with a "Monsieur, find something to throw" or some sort of lifeline. If a drowning person does grab on They will essentially try to climb you like a ladder or push you under to get the leverage to get some air. It's instinctive at that point and impossible to override. If you're being pushed under, just swim down out of their grasp. Come up a little ways away, and try to reapproach. Prop someone on their side when they're drunk and passed out. If they're laying on their back and start vomiting, they could asphyxiate themselves. If you are watching over a drunk friend, make them put on a backpack stuffed with pillows, blankets before they lay down. That way they can't roll over. If you're hiking, doing anything else outdoors alone, tell someone where you're going and when you should be back. If you become incapacitated, this will increase survival chances by a lot. If you live alone, have a check-in person you text goodnight and will notice if you don't. A coworker living alone choked to death in her home. You just never know. Edit. Yes, I know this wouldn't have saved my coworker from choking. I put it more to show that it isn't just elderly who have unexpected risks when living alone. A better example would be falling in the shower and getting nosed out. My sincerest apologies to people with shower anxiety now. Get a CO gas detector in your house. One near the furnace and one near your bedroom. Cannot smell or see CO leaks from regular household furnaces. They're pretty inexpensive too. If you dropped a loaded gun, do not try to catch it. Let it fall. Modern firearms do not just go off for like no reason. Trying to catch it makes it easier to accidentally pull the trigger. Before people go off about antique guns and blah blah yada yada. Unless you are at the range, your antique needs to be in its case or you are an irresponsible gun owner. Modern firearms do not just fire off like that. Even high points. Also a knife. A drop knife has no handle. Also, move back. A drop knife loves feet. Also, hold onto your knives. If in a relationship, if someone gets angry enough to raise a hand to you, once leave. Especially if they strangle you. Abusers who strangle are much more likely to escalate to murder. If you feel an earthquake start and the shaking doesn't piddle out after 5 or 10 seconds, assume it will be big and take cover under something sturdy or run outside where there is no power lines or bits of building above your head. #edit because people are getting mad about the run outside part. That's the safest option. If you are right by the door and there is no adequate cover inside and you have access to a clear space free of dangerous overhanging things. Whatever you do, don't stand in a doorway. That myth kills people. If duck and cover is the safer option, do that and go outside after the shaking stops. Don't try to walk in a strong earthquake if you have balance issues. It messes up your equilibrium, monsieur. Sometimes large earthquakes start out huge right away, and sometimes they wobble a bit before they hit oh shit strength. It depends on how far you are from the epicenter. If there was an earthquake at the beach you're on and you see the water receding away, run to higher ground immediately because a tsunami is coming. If you're in a town near water and see the water in ditches or rivers flowing the wrong way, seek higher ground because a tsunami is coming. If you have been on the fence for a while about being too cold to continue in a backcountry situation, you are already too cold. Immediately make emergency efforts to get warm, monsieur. Being hypothermic severely clouds your judgment. If you have a skin mole that has blurry edges, isn't symmetrical, is a weird shade of red, weeps fluids or acts like an open wound that won't heal, you might have skin cancer. Go to a doctor immediately. Melanoma kills fast. If you have benign skin moles, keep an eye on them, monsieur. Get an idea of how they should normally look so you'll notice if any begin to change like I mentioned above. Don't forget to put on sunscreen. Chew carefully and well if you're eating steak alone. Additionally, learn to perform the Heimlich on yourself using a chair. Put toilet paper in your cars. I once saw a man taking a roadside emergency dump while holding onto a tire to keep from falling back into the demon he was releasing. I immediately checked for toilet paper and it has not left my vehicle since. Urine can neutralize chlorine gas. So if you find yourself in Ypres 103 years ago, piss on your sock and put it over your mouth. Also, don't time travel into active combat zones. Pain on your right side? Push down slightly on it and cough. If pain intensifies, it's most likely your appendix and you should get it checked out. Wife had 2 surgeries on it this year. Don't pick up items on Craigslist or Kijiji alone. You never know when the item you head out to pick is actually just a lure. Been in uncomfortable situations and have always made sure to never go alone anymore. My life isn't worth a box set of DVDs. If you don't have someone to bring, you can always meet at a public place like the library instead of going to their house. If you get bit by something with venom, don't try to suck it out. I knew all those dudes on the side of the road in RDR2 were full of shit. Thank you so much for watching and have a good day.